This particular video looks at how the learning tool of personalizing objects may assist in developing students' literacy skills. Kieran, how exactly does this work?
Well, young children in particular often find it easier to understand the world in personal terms, that is, the terms in which they're familiar with their own experience, their emotions. And so it's a manner of trying to use those emotions and engaging the children in learning about things that normally we leave as abstract and disembodied and consequently rather difficult for them to understand.
Can you give us an example?
Well, take homophones, for example. Homophones are words that sound alike but have different meanings and different spellings. And young children very frequently find it very difficult to work out, which spelling is which and remember. So one of the things that we suggest doing is giving homophones like, night and night, or so and so, and bow that have different meanings, or two and two, giving them personalities, so that the children can see the personalities and embed them in stories that would make them more engaging. To take two and two, for example, if TOO, for example, is somebody who is too big, too loud, too noisy, too rushing, always aggressive and unpleasant because they're in the way and they're just too much, basically. And they've even got more letters in their name than they need. Why do they need two O's? Just one O is sufficient. And two, TWO, is, she's always wanting two of everything. She wants two bicycles, two cell phones. She's never satisfied with just one thing, so she's a very greedy kind of person. And she wants to be a twin even, so that she's got a W in her name, so that she's halfway to being a twin. The W is useless. It doesn't actually sound at all, but she finds that somehow adds to her sense of doubling everything. And TO is another sort of, it's always rushing everywhere. He's going two here, two there, and rushing so much that he's managed to drop off one of the letters from his name. So he's become just a two-lettered person, and the others are both three-lettered people. Now, it's fairly easy once you begin to develop the characters, and you'd be surprised at how children enjoy creating these characters. And then you put them into little stories, and they remember them very clearly. And usually the kids have no difficulty thereafter remembering which one is which, because they've got a personal and emotionally engaged sense of how these spellings represent different characters.
Perhaps we could look to the work of a teacher and see how they're using this particular learning tool in the classroom.
Yes, we'll ask Tanis Calder, who's been using this quite a lot in her teaching.
One of the ways I've personified inanimate objects in my classroom that's been really working well has been in teaching kids how to decode and sound out letters. One of the areas that becomes a little bit tricky for a lot of kids when they're first learning how to read is the sounds that, the phonemes that have more than one letter that contribute to making the sound. So for example, the letters T and H make the sound th, but normally the letter T goes T and the letter H goes H. And so what you do is you give these letters personalities. You explain that, well, T and H, they're really good friends with all the other letters, but whenever they get together, they just can't get along. And so they'll be standing next to each other in line. Of course, the line is the word that they make. And as they're standing in line together, they just can't help but start sticking their tongues at each other and making these strange sounds that aren't the sounds that they're supposed to make at all. So H is going, and T is going, they're making these terrible sounds. And so, of course, the kids get caught up in sort of the personalities of their letters, and they remember that, of course, as they get moved around and as they're with different personalities, the different letters, they start behaving differently and making different kinds of sounds.
Thank you, Tanis. Thank you, Kieran. For more information, please visit the Imaginative Education Research Group's website.